Hey, so welcome back, guys. In this episode, I build the base of the rear bumper. I'd love to say that it was 100% up my idea, but a lot of it, you'll notice, is going to look pretty familiar. If you guys haven't checked out Dirt Lifestyle's channel or Instagram, I think it's Dirt Lifestyle Nate or Nate Dirt Lifestyle, one of those two. Check him out. I took a lot of inspiration on the foundation of this bumper, so I'm gonna probably do it in two parts. I'll do the base part and then I'll do the swing out, the tire carrier bit afterwards. But yeah, so it came out pretty well. I mean, I like it. There's a couple things I learned, which I'll go over in like sort of the post-mortem at the end of this thing. But before we jump into it, let's just say that I did a lot of it in cardboard templates before I started. So I kind of made like a tape mock-up. You guys don't really need to see that. The dimensions and the bill of materials are all kind of down in the description, so you can kind of get an idea of sort of what I loosely did. There's some stuff that maybe you should know when you get into this, right? So like the Land Rovers, or at least the Disca that I have, is a little asymmetrical, which makes, keying off of certain parts of the car a little difficult. But as long as you work from the center line, like mark the center line permanently, and then measure off the center line, then things pretty much, start to work out. Yeah, so let's jump into the build. You'll see me get right into it with the start of the base plate. Very simple, but check out the Dirt Lifestyle one and then follow along on mine. All right, so you can see the base of the frame here. It's got a couple holes drilled right in here. I'm gonna make a little tab that's gonna kind of come down on the backside and come out a little bit, and then I'm gonna tap this. I might drill a nut in the back, but I wanna get this point really locked down because I'm not sure if I'm gonna use these or not yet. It's gonna probably be really difficult to get them in here. Well, no, I can get them from the bottom. So yeah, so I don't know what I'm gonna do about that just yet. This is proving to be difficult right here because, let's see, it's got a piece of 1x2 by 1/8 inch wall that this section, well, that's kind of backwards right now. Let's get that fixed. Yeah, so you can see where this kind of comes in at an angle and then comes down and snakes back here. But because of the length, I thought I grabbed a couple extra inches, but because of the length, it's gonna have to be a little tighter bend. But remember, this is the inside, so the outside pieces of the shell are gonna be, match up with this edge right here. See if you can see it from the top. Yeah, so there's just gonna be some finagling and stuff to do, but overall, I'm pretty happy with it. And then you can see, obviously, I did that 3-inch Terraflex lift. I'll have more on that, later on. The other thing I did is I got a stack of these. So these are 4-inch by 5-inch by 3/16. These are gonna be the webbing for this section right here. So you can see they're an inch shorter, and that's fine with me. I might put a return on the bottom of it too, though I'm not sure about that. So yeah, there's gonna be, I got 8 of them made. I don't know what I'm gonna do with them. This right here is gonna connect out so you can see where the bumper is gonna land up. And I have a shackle mount, so I'm thinking about putting it, I wanna put it between these two bolts, especially if I use them. I thought about putting 2 on each side of the bolts for strength, but I think that this is a better solution because it would be pulling on multiple different welds in multiple different dimensions. So yeah, so I'll probably be doing 2 right here, 3, 4, and the ends 5 and 6. I think that should be sufficient. Another thing that's somewhat complicated is I love the shape of these lights. So these will probably sit in here. So you can see I measured all this out. So I have plenty of room back here. I'll probably drill a hole right in here somewhere to let this wire kind of come through. But yeah, so I want to definitely reuse these stock tail lights or indicators. I think they're pretty awesome, honestly. So yeah, so let's get this thing. All right, so here we got the webbing for the whole thing. You can see it's held together by that one bolt. And I got all the webbing tacked in. This is pretty much exactly how Dirt Lifestyle did his. I'm gonna do some different things, but I think what I'm gonna do is do the finish welding on the internal webbing now, let that cool down, and then come back here and try to figure out what I'm gonna do with this corner, because this is gonna be a little bit of a challenge. The webbing is all like fully welded in on all the sides. So I'm just letting it cool down right now, and then I'm gonna pop it back up there. But overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I got some porosity in a couple of the joints, but it was due to the leak on the machine itself. So these are looking, you know, quite a bit better. Not back to where I was when I used to MIG a lot, but I definitely think they'll hold. So this is a surprisingly strong structure too. I'm actually really, really happy with it. So once this cools down, I'm gonna get started on the wings. Here's what it looks like with everything installed. Right now I just have this single bolt right here. But like I said, I'm gonna put another one in there, and then I'm gonna probably tie it down in this area too, probably to this, where it's not, these 3 points where it's not real visible. I'll tap these and then put some, you know, some angled steel down to kind of tie this there. So it should be a lot sturdier than just having these 2 big bolts, or these 4 big bolts as the case is. But overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, I got pretty good penetration on everything. You know, once I got that clog out, you can see a little bit of that porosity right there, which is like the worst spot for that. But it is kind of what it is, because I don't feel like grinding that back out. But yeah, so let's look at it from sort of a distance. Maybe shut this. So yeah, you can see that, yeah, I kind of did it long on the sides so that I can draw these corner pieces in. I might do that tomorrow. That might be tomorrow's job though, because it's getting warm and I'm ready to wrap this day up. Right, so it's a new day. Here's where we left off yesterday and what I hope to accomplish today. So obviously I need to weld in these shackle mounts. I'm putting them right underneath the webbing. So yeah, those are looking good. The tough part is I really like these blinker and indicator lights that come standard on the Disco 2. I just think it's got classic lines, and I really want to integrate this into the bumper, but honestly, it's going to be a bit of a challenge, and you can see how kind of tight it is, and I don't really like that it's that close to the shackle mount, but at this point, it's kind of whatever. So yeah, I'm going to figure out how to do this. I think I'm going to take this one, flip it upside down, trace around it here, and do the same thing on the other side, only with this one. And then I guess use a hole saw for these corner pieces and drop in with the cutoff wheel. But it's gonna be a bit of a challenge, but I think in the end it'll be worth it. I did order a hitch mount for this side. I'm gonna do this in phases, right? So the first part is gonna be getting that hitch mount on when it comes next week, because everything's delayed, it seems. And that'll go probably right in this corner in here. Maybe, no, sorry, it'll go out here. And I'll do some webbing kind of that comes across to support it. And that'll be pretty solid there. So yeah, so what I wanna do today is get these dropped in, and then get these wings sorted out so that I can take it back to my buddy's house and tack everything together and get it all welded up. So honestly, this has taken far less time than the front bumper did, and it's arguably a little bit more complicated. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I was a bit dumb, honestly. If you look at the back of this bezel, it's really, or the back of the light, it's really square on all the sides. That side's a little bit rounded, but I measured everything out. I think I did it right. Yeah, measured everything out, and it basically comes out to a square about this size. So I traced it all out and everything, and then figured out where I wanted it and put it on here and just erased some of the old lines from the from that. So yeah, I'm kind of nervous about dropping this in, but I mean, let's see how it goes. I think it's going to take some fiddling, because I just realized that it's a little wider here in the middle, I believe. So let's see how this goes. First light is installed and flush. There's a couple problems. You can see, let's see if I can get this to focus for you. Right in here, there's a bit that you can actually see. So I'm going to have to go back and fill that with weld and shape it so it's not visible. So one thing whenever I designed this, I wanted to be able to actually use that plug. I didn't want it smushed up against the base plate right here that bolts to the frame. So I gave it an extra, I thought an inch, but it turns out there's plenty of room down here. These are 5 inches. They're 4x5s. Yeah. So that honestly could have been something more in the 3.5 length. But yeah. So yeah, there's just about, there's just too much room. So I kind of wanted this thing really stubby, but at this point it kind of is what it is. It took a lot of shaping to get this to fit down correctly. So on this next one, I'm gonna definitely cut on the outside of the lines so that I don't have to do so much grinding on the inside. So yeah, when you come back, we'll see both of them installed. Pretty happy with the way these turned out. Yeah, they sit in there nice and flush. Now this one I cut bigger so I didn't have to sand so much, but I got a couple problem spots, same as the last location. So again, fill that up with some weld and shape it. And yeah, this one too needs a bit of weld. So yeah, other than that, yeah, that makes it even worse. So yeah, some weld's gonna go in that to tighten it up a little bit, but overall I'm pretty happy. Next step is to drill a hole for the cabling. Bit of progress here. So I got the side piece kind of held up by these boxes here, and this is the webbing that kind of goes to here. So, sorry, to here. There's a natural curve right here, and so my arm's in the way, but yeah. So this one I marked where to cut it. So that's going to be the end of the base piece. And then obviously, once I figure that out, then I can come in and curve it to the outside to here, make it a little bit stronger, and then I'll know where to cut this piece off here. All right, so here's where we're at now. See if I can explain this to you so you can see the light in there. I mean, I think that looks pretty good, but it's kind of boxy when you come around here, and the disco naturally has this curve right here. So I don't know if I love this or not yet. Let's see if I can get this on camera. But really, this kind of comes in here and then connects like this. So I'll tack all this in. Oops. And then obviously, there's another piece that connects to the other side for strength. I probably shouldn't have cut that part off, but I'll figure out a way to tie that into the side piece for some extra strength. So this is what we got in the bumper so far. All cut out here. This side, well, both sides really kind of tweaked. You can see that that gap is pretty massive. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna also build an internal support structure, maybe off, let's see if I can get it, one of these bolts up here, if those are strong enough, or something to kind of pull it into place. And then of course I marked it off to follow the body line. So that's gonna need a little bit of tweaking. The other side is pretty close to being just, so going back to this one, it's tweaked a bit. So I'll probably go off of that piece there and then make a support up to here so it's really nice and strong. And I may do some black trim that kind of comes across this. Let's see if I do this. Yeah, it comes across this and then kind of wraps around and covers this piece off right here. So yeah, the big mistake that I did was, you can see that this has got a triple weld pass, and unfortunately the pivot is upside down, so got in a hurry, put that in upside down. There's some pretty chunky weld on that, so I don't know if that's gonna be salvageable or not. Excuse the crappy welds too. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut that out, try to salvage it. I accidentally bought 2 of those pivots, so I may use the new one or I may try to reuse this one, but we'll get into more of that. So the objective of today is obviously correct this, this swing out pivot, get that squared up, get the braces here fabricated to come across, and to come across at the bottom too. And then, so I'm gonna get all of those fabricated, get this top trimmed up. There's some little ledges, you can see it around in here, and there's another one on this side too, that make it so I can't just slam that flat plate on top of all of this. But before I can even do that, It needs to be over here. Now, another thing that I noticed, and I realize now why they put the side supports in, is because this is kind of shaky. As you get out here, this kit's kind of wobbly, which is probably fine under normal circumstances, but once a big tire gets on there, it's gonna be a lot different. So let's try to get as much of this fabrication done so I can go to my buddy's house tomorrow and fab this up. One other mistake that I made was I just linked these two together, and you can see where that secondary patch goes down. This is gonna have to come across. It's gonna need some bottom support there. So what I think I'm gonna do is just kind of make a small piece that kind of covers this up, that goes from here to here. And then of course this one's gonna come across the bottom. Maybe I'll just make it so it all looks like one piece. But we'll see how that goes. I roughly have the top cut off. So this is the angle on the right-hand side. And this is the angle for the driver's side here. I obviously need to sand down these notches. These notches are actually cut out of right here. And what I notice is this piece right here is slanting in the downward. So there's about a 1/4 inch gap over in here. So what I'm gonna have to do is, the only way I can get to this with a cutoff wheel is to cut this weld out, and cut this plate out right here. And then I'll try to clean this up if I can. If not, I'll use the new one. But what I'll do is when I get the top laid down, I'll be able to tweak this up to center it, and then also tweak this up to be able to get this gap to remove, and then, you know, obviously cut this part up. So this was the spare swing out carrier thing, and marked where it was underneath. So came over here, installed the top, marked out where I want it, where the old one is. And what I'm gonna do is I've decided I'm just gonna cut this out because it's tweaked, and then I'll cut this out with a cutoff wheel too, or possibly a reciprocating saw. But I want to get all of the fab work done before I go over to my friend's house to do all the welding, because it's just a much better use of time. The other problem I have is the top doesn't want to sit perfectly flush because this part right here is touching. So obviously I marked that out. And that's going to have, this whole thing's going to have a plate of either 1/8 inch or 1/16 to kind of cover up this little ugly spot where all those plastic things break off all the time. But yeah, so that's kind of the plan, is to get everything done. One thing that I did do was I made these support brackets. Let's see if I can show you and hold the camera. So these aren't perfect, but I wanted them to be in there kind of loose. And I'm gonna definitely make sure that this other thing's squared up. So one of these at the top, one of these at the bottom, plus the top, which is 1/8 inch steel. It should work out pretty well. It should be supported well enough. And then obviously all of this is gonna get boxed in with the top. And I'm gonna do that bottom piece in these corners just so that there's a lot more strength there, because these things do wobble and kind of clank. And then when I do that, it will straighten up this piece here. So I'm kind of killing like a few different birds with one stone in correcting this. So overall, kind of happy. That one bolt right there isn't gonna hold it, and I don't think that one bolt's gonna hold it either. So now I understand why people put supports underneath these crossbars that go underneath the thing. Because I mean, obviously, like, this thing just wiggles. Let's see if we can get it. It just wiggles like crazy. So it needs an internal support. It's not, this sheet metal is just not strong enough. Even when it's boxed in, I don't think it's gonna be strong enough. I used a 1 3/8 inch hole, which in my experience usually like rounds out to like another 1/8 of an inch, and basically nailed it. Now the question is it on the right spot in the thing? So this part hangs down 5 inches, which is good, and that caps everything off. So that means I can put a weld bead around the bottom of this, and then around the top, I'll have the two supports, one right here, and then one at the bottom, and then plus it'll be welded to the cross support like this one is. So it'll be supported on what, 4 sides in 2 different places, plus the entire top. And let's hope that doesn't move. Cut that out. That was a lot of fun. Cut the outer piece out and then the inner piece. I'm gonna have to grind this down because that's just not gonna work in here. So sand that down, and yeah, this was the other piece. It's welded on. A lot of heat that went into it, so I'm not gonna try to salvage this. I think I'm gonna pull this bumper off, do a little bit of, it needs some sanding on this side so that the top will fit on, and do some sanding on that edge, and then get that support structure and everything in here for the pivot, and then yeah, we'll go from there. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and call that an episode. It's just getting a little bit long, and this probably should have been 2 parts anyways. Obviously, I finished the whole thing, got the swing out and everything done on this, but this is kind of a good stopping point because where I'm at right now, I am talking about, you know, getting that pivot mounted, and then I go into actually making the swing out and stuff like that. So obviously stick around, check out the part 2. I'll probably upload them both at the same time or very similarly. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. I could obviously, you know, use some logarithm help on this one. You know, until next time, thanks for watching.